Overwhelm. Focus, focus, focus. Get in the zone. Get in the zone.
Get in the zone. Physiology. Change your physiology, change the way you feel.
Focus, focus. Yeah, we're live. We're live.
We are live.
Get in the
Wow.
zone. Get in the zone.
Yeah, did you feel that though? When you just come out and you give yourself more energy, you change your mood just right off. Basically, giving more power, doing power poses, doing different things can change the way you feel. When you change your physiology, right offhand, you're going to change the way you feel.
So
I
today
mean,
we're talking about NLP tricks that can change emotional overwhelm. Some people out there may be over analytic and thinking about all these different things that could go wrong versus thinking about the one path where you could be successful. And we're going to talk about some different NLP mind hacks, tricks, whatever you want to call them, in order to put your best foot forward. And Jeff over here, I don't know how many, certifications and people he's helped out along the way. And we're just going to cover a few of these different things, tricks, mind hacks to help get you where you need to be and have your best foot forward. First one that comes up is anchoring. And any one of these topics, Jeff will talk about for 3 years. So we'll let him go on this one for a little bit.
well, just
Anchoring.
let's just go with anchoring at first. What we're going to do usually with a person in front of us or a client or something, we're going to anchor in a good feeling or an emotion. So if you ever get into a situation where you need it, well, a lot of times you'll just anchor it in your little, these two fingers right here, your thumb and your little pinky
So
finger.
a lot of hypnotists talk about that. Can you explain more about anchoring with emotion or touch? With your fingers. Why would that be important, or how would you make that more of
The
a
reason
reality?
why you'd want it already built in is that when you need it, you need it. Like let let's say if you had a really strong anchor and you went into shock, uh, because when you go into shock, you're pretty much out of there. But or if you get in a bad mood, or even just even let's go up instead. Let's not go that far in. But let's just say you got in a bad mood. Somebody just made you mad. You get your calm anchor. So, how we anchor things is we find things in the past where we acted a certain way and we felt a certain way. It's like, when were you calm? And you can think of many times, and then you anchor it in that feeling when you were calm. And you can stack anchors. So, and when did you feel confident and you were calm and you could take on the situation no matter what it was? Have you ever felt that way? Would go with that. Have you ever felt that way? And when you feel that way, and then would bring them into that emotion, and when would just okay, feel it more and more and more and more, and then we anchor it in, and we keep anchoring those in. And when you use your anchor and you build your anchor, you'll have it when you need it. So, like if what I call a loop is when you say, "Oh no, not again." So let's say me and Scott are talking, and we've gone over this thing several times, and it's like Scott says, "Ah, come on, you always do that." I said, "Always." And so that's what we call a loop, and we're already there. And I could get mad at that point and say, "Come on, give me a break, Scott." And if I just pushed my anchor where it was calm, collect, and everything, it wouldn't bother me as much. And I could uh, because when I went into that loop thing, but when you say "oh no" again, you're in a loop. So think about anytime you're going, "Oh, this person in front of you, oh, not again, not again," and that's a loop. So anchors can help the loops to bring them back to normal. Just before, because you're already in a state of being where you feel angry or upset or can't handle it. So that's one way, is anchoring and then building in an anchor of feeling how you want to. So the other way it soon is breathing. It's calming yourself down. So just breathe in, breathe out, and within 3 to 5 breaths you're feeling different. The other way, let's say you have you want to feel more powerful, then you could do power poses. Basically, act like Superman, Superwoman, or get up and move. People, some people, they do depression. And if you ever seen somebody who's sad or anything, they're usually moping. They're going, oh, it's a terrible day. And if they would just go like this, get up and give some energy, and they would change the way they feel. Because when you change your physiology, you're going to change the way your emotions, and just getting up, getting that power going, or just here's a real simple hack. It's just when you feel the way a feeling you don't feel like to feel, stop. It's a bad, just stop. And
It's a pattern
then
interrupt.
what, how would you rather feel? As soon as whatever that is, it instantly go, how would I rather feel? And then move towards that feeling.
So
So those
basically,
are some hacks. Go ahead.
no, so basically, when it comes to anchoring, you want to make sure you've done your homework. So you want to think about different situations that you have to be in, and then think about what state you want to be in when you have to be in those situations. So let's say that you have a tendency to be anxiety, right? Like, so before you go into an anxiety state, or before you're placed in a position where you probably are uncomfortable, you would want to do your homework first so that you can build these anchors. This is what we're talking about, right? So what state would you rather be in? Let's say that you have to go on stage and give a presentation, and that builds anxiety for you. So before you do that, you would want to practice how to call up these different anchors, right? So basically, if you were going on stage, you would want to call up confidence or something along those lines, whatever word that you choose that would make you feel the best state in order to go on stage and give that presentation. So let's say a week before, right? You got to give this presentation, and then you want to make sure that you have your best foot forward. So what you would do is close your eyes, go back into your past, and think about all the different times you were confident. Think about all the different times you were successful. And then once you have that, take that and double it by 10, double it by 100, triple it, right? And then once you have that, trigger it with this. Like, oh, I touched my pinky to my thumb, and now I can instantly recall that state. And this is something that you can do, before you have to go on that stage. And then once you have that, before you go on the stage, be like, close your eyes, breathe in, touch your pinky to your thumb, and now you can be that persona so that when you go on stage, you give the performance that you're looking to give, especially if you have your best foot forward. So just keep that in mind. That's basically anchoring in a nutshell. And I definitely recommend, finding a hypnotist or an NLP practitioner to help you be able to create those steps in your mind. Now, just remember, everything that's going on is just in your mind. And then what can you do to put your best foot forward to make sure that you're ready to give that presentation or have that difficult conversation with somebody that you're, been waiting forever to have, right? So just settle down, build up your anchor, and then do what needs to happen, right? So that
Also,
was, yeah, yeah, I know, right? Well, that was anchoring, and then I'll have Jeff do the
okay.
closing statements.
Well, now one more little thing here with the anchoring. We already said we can anchor different anchors in. So you're anchoring your confidence in, your calm, collect, and then what we can add. Even we got that. Now we can add future pacing. How will it be when I get up on that stage? Say you're going to go to that stage, and then also visualizing what would the picture, what would the outcome you want, and see it in your mind how you want it to happen. So you're kind of running a little play in your mind, which is also calming you down because when you get up there, you have already gone through this scenario. You see the people in front of you, so you visualize it. Okay, so we're going to go a little bit here, just a little bit down. Okay, we all have visual, auditory, kinesthetic, so taste and smell. Okay, so a lot of times these things are going to matter when we go up there. So some people are more visual, some people are more audio, and it's kind of good to find out what you are, so you know how what your best modality is. So anyway, you might picture yourself going up there, but a lot of people can visualize them right in front of the audience. They can see them right there. They're just all there. But some people are better at hearing, so the auditory, so they hear the audience and go, "Yay, he's here finally! Let's listen to this guy." And the feeling you get when you get up there. So anyway, all these modality things. So when you're future pacing, when you're going up to that stage, you can put all those in. You also you can anchor them. I felt that way. I see that way. All those. And the more you do everything like that, it's going to make it stronger. What do you think about that, Scott?
Well, that was well put. Visualization was actually the next thing we were going to talk about, but
Okay, let's go
basically,
there.
well, visualization is basically, I actually talked to a officiant who is very visual. So I basically just told her, I was like, hey, look, just vision yourself executing whatever it is that you have in front of you, and then see yourself being successful. And since this person was very visual, she had pretty much done that already, even though she did have a little anxiety, but I was able to, I don't know, smooth out whatever rough edges she had. And then, she went through and did it. And which is amazing because this officiant had only done like a handful of these, ceremonies before, and everything worked out great. And basically, again, the 60-second rule, like how can we get this to be fast? You get this to be fast while you're practicing, off screen, right? Or off stage. And then when it comes to time to being on stage, it's just second nature to you. And then understanding all these different things, because the next thing to talk about is reframing. You want to talk about reframing a little bit? Like, is it a mistake or is it a learning experience?
Well, I always think it's a learning experience. So, without a doubt, a lot of people get down on themselves because they're not perfect, and you're never going to be perfect, people. You're just not. So, when well, reframing how I like to explain it is change the way you look at something, and the thing you look at changes, the meaning changes. You could look at, like he said, some people might say it's a mistake. Whatever, if you're going for the DJs, they only brought one mic and they needed two, but that's a learning experience. Next time they're going to bring two mics. So they learn something from that. And reframing from you right there, you could say, man, I'm glad I learned that because that next gig was even more important. And because you don't know what you don't know till you know you don't know it. And then you have to decide if you want to learn it. And if you want to learn it, then you have to start learning it. And then pretty soon you've got unconscious competence. And then, I mean, you got conscious competence. Then, after you learn it enough, just like driving, you won't have to think about it. And when you don't have to think about it anymore, you're not thinking about your steering wheel, your brakes, and everything, and you're just driving along. Now you got unconscious competence, and that's what we want with a lot of stuff. I went on a tear
Well,
and they
Jeff,
talked
if
about that.
somebody came to you and they said they had anxiety, what would you do to get them down in 60 seconds?
First, seriously,
First, you'd have to break state,
take a
right?
break. Yeah, just stop for a second, take a deep breath, and figure out what emotions are coming up. And really, I would start them with breathing. Just they get them down to that, and then say, what is it that's bringing this here? And is it true? Is it? I'd go some of the other stuff
Sure.
to bring it down to say, uh, is this reasonable?
Are you
If
making a
there's
mountain out
somebody,
of a
right,
molehill?
right, if there's somebody outside the door with an axe, yes, yes, and I'm okay with you being excited. All I want to do now is get you calm enough so that you can take on the situation. And yes, sometimes it is okay to be all that, and yet we still want to be calm enough to get out of it collectly. Basically, we don't want it. There's that killer outside. What? Take a breath, breathe, start breathing, because if you don't breathe, you go into shock. And if you go into shock, but then we had our anchor. If we had our anchor right there, we'd push it.
Calm, calm,
Calm down,
calm.
calm down, calm down, and breathe, and then think what's the next best step. I really think, and then if let's say the opposite, let's say somebody's moping and they have no energy or something, I still would go to power poses or just think what how you get them moving, get them just moving, and then talking. And I would sometimes even just say just, oh, I love this one. This is one of my favorite, but I do this because I'm a happiness coach. I'd have them laugh, fake laugh, right off. It's like,
Well, one important note to bring up uh, that I feel is important at this moment
what's
is
that?
that if you focus on the negative, the more the negative will become
Oh,
apparent, and if you focus more on the positive, the more the positive will become apparent, and then it's really up to you what you would rather decide to focus on.
and we call that the reticulating activating system, where whatever you focus on, you find more of. You can, and well, real easy example of that is when you're driving and you just bought a new car. Everybody else bought that same new car because now you're aware of the cars. Or if you just had a baby, now daycares are everywhere. It's whatever relevant in your mind you see more of. Um, I'm going to give a weird example. Is that when you go anywhere, you can't see everything. When you walk in somebody's house, you can't see everything. Your mind's going to look at the whole house when you're walking in. It's going to sort by what it believes is relevant to your mind, which is your map of the world. Now, let's just say a police officer might say, "Was there any here hidden spaces where somebody could jump out at me?" Let's say a fireman might say, "Where are the exits if there was a fire? How we could save ourselves?" Artists might walk in and look at your art. Uh, a chef might go to your kitchen because they're sorting by what they it's important. And I'm going to tell you, no one in front of you, no person in front of you will ever be you. So they can't see what you see. They can't hear what you hear. They can't smell or taste because they're not you. Sometimes we think the person in front of us knows what we're thinking, but they don't. They don't. I mean, they can't. They can't. It's sort of like asking somebody, how does that food taste? It's kind of weird, but yes, it tastes good to them. But you have different taste buds, and your taste buds change, all the time anyway.
So,
So,
Jeff, knowing this stuff, how can you take control of it and use it to your best benefit?
well, one
No,
thing,
knowing that everything that you experience is your experience to yourself, what can you do to, take control of that and amplify it?
one thing, and this is a little off this, is write down what you want. And then what are you trying to do with your life? And then go from there. And these anchors and all these other things, or these are just safety things you can have along the way that helps you stay in control of what your emotions throughout. And so every day you can work on this stuff. And at one point, instead of your anchor, you won't need the anchor anymore. All you do is think because anchors, you're anchored, but later on, it'll just calm. All you got to do is think of, you can give it a power word. You can say calm, and your brain will, after you've anchored it, it'll snap into that and you'll be calm. So that's the same. We train ourselves to be how we want to be. And I'm sure you've been in a situation in your past where you had to be calm, even though you weren't, you didn't want to be as calm as you had to be, because we learn that we can't just somebody in front of us and they're doing something we don't like. We don't just start yelling at them and saying, "Yeah." Some people do. I'm not saying everyone, but that probably wouldn't help.
Well,
So
if you yelled at somebody and you didn't get the outcome that you wanted, how's that working for you? Would you
yeah,
like to
so well,
change that the next
NLP,
time this
yeah,
feeling
well,
comes up?
but yeah, NLP. If you don't get the result you want, then try something else or do something else. Because again, with a lot of our stuff, people say, "Well, I've been doing this and doing it." It's sort of like doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and expecting the a different result. That's what we call insanity. So if you're doing that, let's just say you're hitting the same brick, the same, and it's not doing anything. Maybe you should try a different tactic, maybe a different side or a different tool. Or that's the same with with when we help people, we use different tools. You know, if the anchoring doesn't help, we might bring in visualization. If that doesn't help, we might, bring in a scenario or future pacing. How would that feel when you got there, and go through that whole situation so we can walk them through whatever
which is called
scenario they're,
timeline therapy or future pacing.
all that kind of, so what we're trying to do is be prepared for a situation where we're not prepared, and we can prepare for that right there. Especially if you know you're going to have to do like talking in front of a public or something like that that you're not used to. Go ahead.
So here is a NLP technique. Richard Bandler uses it all the time. Is that if you could, go through your past and figure out what's bothering you, right? And then close your eyes and visualize it. What color does it have? Can you make it worse, right? Can you close your eyes and be like, man, I don't like this feeling right here. Well, if you can make it worse, that means you have control of it. And then, if you close your eyes and you're able to push it away from you or make it smaller, then you could, get rid of it. And another thing, Steve Andreas, I think I learned this one from, is that if you take the experience of, before you had the experience to the end of the experience and then run it in reverse, then it just goes away. And it's kind of weird to say, but at the same time, go ahead, close your eyes, think of a horrible experience that you had, and then, from the beginning to the end, put it in full color and then take the color away and then run it in reverse and then see if it's still there. And if it's still there, give us a call. We'll, we'll,
And
we'll,
and you can
we'll
do
run
it
you through
several
it.
times. Sometimes it
Yeah.
takes a little more than once or twice when you're doing that.
Or you can make it a
Um,
cartoon like Mendel says.
yeah. Yeah.
And then you could get rid of it or diminish it, right? Or whatever it is you decide you want to do with it. And that's why, people use hypnosis for fear of flying. You do the timeline therapy and you're able to walk them through every single step so that when it actually comes time to get on a plane, that they're fine with everything that's going to happen because they've, pretty much coaxed themselves into knowing everything's going to be fine or this is what it is kind of thing. And well, I don't know, do you have to get to California? Like, is this, you got to get on a plane? It's probably pretty important for some people that have to fly all around the world so they can use these mind hacks or tricks or whatever you want to call them to, get through the task at hand. There you go.
And what's funny
I
is
don't know. There's so many different
there's
things,
another thing
right?
that came in here. Just did you know that the feeling of excitement is the same as fear? That excitement and fear are the same. So,
They coincide. I didn't know that one.
so what you can do is have them excited about getting on the plane. Take
Oh,
that fear and make an excitement, and how it, and also future pace past getting off the plane and how it's going to feel at the vacation or at the thing they're going to do.
presentation or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and sort of just not making such a big deal about the flight, and but being excited about what's going to happen afterwards. So that's another thing you can throw in there.
So once again, it's all about knowing who you are, being able to do this in 60 seconds. Most of it reverts to stopping, calming down, breathing in, analyzing actually what's going on, and then analyzing what state you'd like to be in to go into whatever the situation is.
Another thing we can do, not only anchoring, but you can anchor in a a good place. So what I used to do is I'd have my client go into a room. So they get to make this room, but they're the
Oh
only
yeah.
ones who can go into the room, and they go in and there's a picture of them on the wall, and but basically they can go in there and calm down and nothing can bother them, nothing can hurt them in the world. They go in there and it only takes a second to get in and it only takes a second to get out, and they look at the their self on the wall, and it can calm them down. I built it where it could do, have relax them and then calm them down and get them out when they go into their, and some people, you don't have to build something like this, but you can build like one I build for myself. I like waterfalls, and I don't know if you've ever seen a waterfall, but you can walk behind the waterfall. that's a calm place for me. So I kind of picture that if I get all kinds of weird, I just sort of go in there and just calm down for a second. And nobody sees you, so you calm down. And then, so there's all kinds of things you can do.
What
And
was
what,
another one? There was another one where it was like, write down all your faults on a piece of paper and then
okay.
burn it. And then burn it. Sorry, my camera.
Yeah, I did better with the camera today.
Yeah, right. Well, I think that's pretty much all we have for today. And guys, if you need help with this, or maybe this is new to you, reach out to us, drop a comment down below, let us know what you're going through. And yeah, um, I didn't really understand all these things until I started really diving in and then really analyzing, my memories. And then again, the more you go back to analyze your memories, like you rewrite them. So if there's something in your past that you don't like, you can reframe it. You can do a bunch of different other tricks to be able to cope with it better, to get you through whatever your future pacing is.
And another thing on the anything you ever look at in the past, every single time you go to a memory, you change it. You cannot not change a memory when you go past, back. So just to understand your memories change a lot just by revisiting them. And there was something I had when you were saying that. I was like, um, really back to the breathing. The breathing really at first is probably your first best thing to do is just breathe in, breathe out. You can do 7-11 breathing. It's going to calm you down.
Well, there you go.
And so,
Yeah,
yeah, we could go
I know.
on. We got
Yeah,
tapping.
man.
So anyway,
I'm gonna keep this one short. And
okay.
guys, make sure to follow, join the website, write a comment down below, and we do this every Wednesday. So we'll catch you on the next one.
Have a good day, guys.